Hi guys, it's such a pleasure to finally speak to you. How are you?
I'm fine, Anne. I'm sure that it's been a long time. We were going to meet in Manchester, but there you go.
I know. I was going to be seeing you in Manchester, and we've been in touch for must be a couple of years now because I reviewed your 2018 album, Out of the Blue.
That was a different. That was kind of that 2018. I think that out of that 2018, the first album, there's only myself and the drummer left off that lineup. So so the EP featured Mikey, who's on this call. So there's three of us here, and obviously the new single, which you've heard, that's got the current lineup on it. So pretty much up to date.
Has the change in lineup altered your sound, do you think?
Yeah.
Is it still the same? It has. In what way?
Yeah,
it's got better. Go on, Les, say it. It's got better.
It's changed it massively. To be frank, I mean, it's Steph has made a huge difference in terms of our sound, and the added, Mikey was already, something special, and then we added Staz, who's our Russian wonder kid. And suddenly you've got this very different kind of sound because it's like East meets West. And you got all these different classical and jazz influences going into what is essentially rock. And Sol, who's not here today, he's written all this music which this band has transposed into what we're doing now. And, Should Have Been There, which you've heard, is kind of where we're at the moment as a band.
Yeah, you have... Your style of music has its own philosophy, which is our home is blues and rock, but we go out a hell of a lot. So basically, you're saying that your sound is an amalgamation of lots of different styles, but mainly blues rock. Would that be accurate?
I think...
Go on, Steph.
Go on, mate. I was going to say, I think the one sort of commonality we've all got is blues. And many of us cut our teeth on the blues. Mikey's a slight exception because I think he cut his teeth on Stravinsky and God knows what else. But so we come in from lots of different angles. But the one thing that holds us together is this love of the blues. And I think what that means to us is the sort of license to improvise, the endless search for soul in what we're doing, and that's the kind of philosophy that underpins us. And then we just bring loads and loads of different influences to the party, and you've got 5 very different guys in terms of what we'll sit and listen to in the car. But the one thing, definitely the blues,
So it all gels together nicely.
I wouldn't say nicely all the time, but
sometimes,
it's kind of how can I put it? Soul gives you a clean sheet of paper. This is a song, all right? It's just him strumming on a guitar or maybe on a keyboard, but nothing much. And then basically you take the song, the layers go on it, and it might start out as one kind of song, but when you actually get it to its end product, it's quite different. And because say Mikey will come along and say, "Hey, why don't we do this middle eight here?" And it sounds classical. But then Mikey's a classically trained pianist. So of course, it's something adds a completely different dimension to what everyone else is doing out there. But it's not deliberate. It's just the guys in the band, really.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about your 2 latest singles. I Want to Rock and Roll Ya and Should Have Been There.
Yep.
2 completely different types of songs. I mean, if somebody didn't know you'd listen to them, they'd probably think it was 2 different bands, very, very different sort of sounds. So do you want to talk us through both of those singles?
Well, okay, Steph can help me out here and all.
Because I Want to Rock and Roll You is quite a sort of carefree, real rock song, as you'd expect.
It's kind of a classic rock number with you can tell there's like influences from the Faces, there's influences from the Stones, there's influences from all sorts there. But I mean, just song. It's just that the song sounded, this would sound really good like this. Whereas Should Have Been There, well, it started out this is the basics, and we listened to it, and it was so basic that in its own way, that's all you needed to do. So we just didn't want to sort of like, it was emotion. It was pure emotion that drove
really is,
that.
and that really comes across well, and it's such a beautiful song. I think if people haven't heard it yet, they really should look out for it. Should have been there, in case anybody missed what it was called. Beautiful song, and really, you know, when you kind of listen to it, you think this is definitely being told through the eyes of the person that's lived through those emotions.
Yep.
So was it about a specific event in your life, or
I think
a certain period?
I think like with most songs, there's always a undercurrent of something that's happened in real life. But I think it's more about what the musicians bring to the party, and particularly in that song, it's what Steph brings to the party, because the key to that song is his singing. It's as simple as that. You know, the rest is it just keeps it down.
I think it's a shame Solly's not. It's a shame Solly's not here, because he wrote that song.
No.
And, I've forgotten who it was about now, but he sort of opened up about it one night, and it was about a drug addict, wasn't it, Les, as I recall? I don't know if you remember that conversation, but it was actually a bloke talking to a bloke, sort of saying he wish he'd been there through this hard time. That's true, Les. Didn't you know that? I see Rock and Roll You as a bit of a bridge, really, because that was from the old set, that was from the old band, and these guys had recorded this in a previous incarnation. And it was, you know, it was a good rock and roll song, and I think it's
a very classic sounding song.
Totally, you know, and that's what it is, and so it's very easy to pull together. And I think when we were getting to know each other as a band and gelling, obviously you do a lot of jamming around and start to feel each other out, and that was a good song to do it with. So that kind of gave us the platform, if you like, to know each other, so we could go on and explore other things, and those other things are what you're seeing in between there, and the next single we're going to release, which, you know, when this whole COVID nonsense is over, we'll be able to finally ship that out. But we're moving, you know, we're always going to be able to do this rock and roll stuff because it's great fun to do, but we get a lot more pleasure, I think, doing the more, as I said at the beginning, the more soulful songs, the stuff we
So you mentioned a new single that you're going to be bringing out. Have you got plans for another EP or an album?
Well, the whole point of the single was we were originally, this is obviously pre this lockdown, and our plan was quite simple. We were going to record the second album. The second album was going to start, or it has already started. So the idea was we were going to record the album, which would come out in November. And this would be the second studio album. However, with all this, we'd already gone into the studio. We had plans to release a single in May. And so we'd already gone into the studio, and right now there are 2 unfinished tracks, which we've already recorded most of the parts on. There are no vocals, and of course Dev hasn't had a chance to go in there and do them yet. So you've got 2 unfinished tracks, which could be finished relatively quickly when we can finally get into the studio. As for the album, God knows. I mean, we got the tracks. It's not like we don't have the songs. We've got loads of songs. But it's getting into the studios and all of us getting together again. I mean, we haven't rehearsed since, when was it? February sometime. So, I mean, like, you know, this is the first time I've seen his ugly mug in 2.5 months, you know.
And you must have been missing it.
I am.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's like, it's getting together in a garage, which is what we do. Soundproof garage, and it's very intimate there. There's 5 of us all in that room with all the instruments and everything else, and it's amazing. It's a workshop, and we get things done in there, and I've missed that. You know, I hate to say it, but I really do miss it. And doing gigs, well, I mean, like, you know, oh Christ, I miss gigs, you know. But recording is something we can do as soon as things start to come together again, and I hope that won't be too long. And so the first thing we'll be doing is dropping our new single, which are two fantastic tracks. You know, aren't they, Steph?
Awesome, mate. Yeah. Well, they will
What's the
be
new
when they're
single
finished.
called?
Well,
What's the new single called?
well, there's two tracks.
Okay.
One
It's like
is
a
called
double A side.
A double A side. One is called Perfect Words,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one is called Love Comes Later. And they're very different again. You know, you'll have to wait to hear them, because like to describe them, it's kind of like, you know, there still must be changes, because Sol is a perfectionist, and you know, he's never satisfied ever, and there's always things. Oh, can we do this? Oh, can we change that? Can we do that? You know. So what you end up with, you may end up with a recording. You think, yeah, that sounds really great, and then Sol will go in the studio and say, no, can we do that? Can we change that? And the next thing you know, the sound's totally different.
Oh, you're not kidding. Do you know when we did? You don't know, you weren't there. When we did, I should have been there. We did track after track, like you do with these things. You go over and over and over, looking for that perfect take. And we got one. And I was knackered. You know, we'd done a long day of this, and I thought I'd nailed it. It was, you just know in your heart of hearts when everything is where it needs to be. And I thought, I'm done. I'm happy. And Sol listened to it, and he went, "You missed the T off the end of a word there." You know, I think it was, you know, something like when you say "don't go somewhere," you don't say "don't go somewhere."
Yes.
I
say yes now, so yeah.
Yeah.
About it. Yes.
Who cares? But anyway, he wouldn't let it through, so I had to go and put this flipping T on the end of my word. Yeah, there's perfectionism, and there's being a right pain in the posterior lobe.
But I mean, the thing is, you know, he's like the brand's Brian Wilson. You know, he's sort of like, he knows what he's written the song, but he's got it in his head as to what he thinks he wants. And sometimes, you know, you have to sort of say, okay, he knows what he's talking about. You know, the producer knows what he's talking about as well, because we've got a great producer. And so between the two of them, you know, the songs come out.
Yes.
And I think what we've got in the back, we've got some amazing material. I mean, it will blow your mind when you hear it.
Can't wait.
Yeah, nor can we. You know, you know, nor can we. We know how good it can be. We've done it live on stage. But I won't let any of those live tracks make the surface until the single comes out, you know. Yeah. So, but, you know, we've got some brilliant music, and we don't want to be judged just by these last two tracks we did, you know. So, you know, it's just in progress.
Yeah, in progress. Yeah. Now, I noticed lately you made an announcement on your Facebook page that was quite amusing. Well, not amusing, but interesting. You said, "We're really chuffed to be playing Download Festival."
Yeah, that was a mistake, wasn't it? I got the right bollock from Richard for that.
Yeah. What would it mean to you to actually be playing Download Festival?
We'd have loved to. Look, to be frank with you, we've been so busy getting this album together, the tracks, and you can imagine that's quite time consuming. And as I'm the guy who's responsible for getting gigs in, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, I'm out there, pitch it. But a lot of people think, well, okay, let's see what JFK Blue are about. Let's hear what their next track is going to be, what their next single is going to be. And so currently, it's kind of like, you know, we're getting known. You know, people are getting to hear us. And, you know, we'll see where we go, you know.
I didn't know about this download thing, by the way. You kept that very quiet, mate.
Yeah, I think it was meant to be the Webfest, New Wave Classic Rock Webfest, but it turned out somehow to become Download Festival.
We want to be playing all the festivals next year, every single bloody one of them, you know. But I mean, like, we shall. But that's nearly a year away, so who knows, you know.
Yeah, well, I hope to see you soon anyway, and that you'll be able to reschedule all the dates that you've.
Well, I believe that we will be coming, you know, once this is rescheduled. The original gig was we were going to go to play with Idlewild in Manchester. That will still happen, but I can't give you a date.
Brilliant.
You know, we're rescheduling for 2021. No one's going to be working before then, really.
No. Yeah. Well, let me know when you're going to be up this neck of the woods, and I'll
definitely.
Be there.
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay, lovely to finally catch up with you. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
It's been awesome. Thank you, Anne.
Okay, take care, guys.
Yeah, me was
Take it easy. Bye bye.
See ya. Bye now.
This is rock and roll, burning out to my soul.